Hey, welcome back. This is Mohammed, aka Son of Gao. So, as you all know by this time, the Women's African Cup of Nations is just a few days away or a day away if you're watching this. And in today's video, we're just going to dive into the four favorites of this tournament, and those are reigning champions South Africa, Banyana Banyana. And then you have Nigeria, the Super Falcons, who were basically nine-time champions of Africa. They've been 12 WAFCONs organized, and Nigeria's won nine, just to give you how amazing of a run they've had historically. But in the last 7 years, Nigeria's not won the title, so I think they're gunning to win it again. Yeah, and then the next two are Morocco, obviously host nation of this year's competition, and maybe a favorite more than anything because they lost the finals the last time, 2-1 to South Africa. But they are at home again, and this time it feels like with the World Cup experience they've had and the Olympics. Wait a minute, they did not qualify for the Olympics. They qualified for the World Cup. Or did they qualify? No, Zambia. No. So yeah, with the international experience they've gained, um, I bringing in as well a new coach, Jorge Vilda, who's a former Spanish coach. They're building a momentum, and it feels like the wind is blowing in their sails. And then, last but not least, very interesting Zambian squad where obviously they're generational talents and having been pretty much together since the under 17s, this feels like a peak moment for them. Last time around in 2022, Zambia was third place after losing the semifinals to southern neighbors South Africa, and then winning the third place game against Nigeria. So, to start with the reigning champions, South Africa honestly is a complete team, and they have in their coach, Dr. Ellis, um, basically someone who's been part of the entire history of South African football when it comes to its professional development. And she took over the team as coach in 2016 and has built an amazing program locally embedded in multiple spaces. And this has allowed for South Africa, with a boost of money coming from the private sector into the South African Women's League. They have grown their basically have grown their local league, and on top of that, a few of their main players have gone abroad, who have now come back to share that experience with the others that are playing within the continent. So main factors for South Africa, and in terms of team profile, South Africa is a team that enjoys retaining the ball as much as they can, and through the wings they usually go very direct, but centrally they try to keep it neat and possession based soccer, with a lot of touches for midfielders who have really great ability on the ball, allowing for forwards to enjoy time and space to pick when they're making their runs. In their defensive setup, South Africa is not as vulnerable as they used to be. But before we get into all of that and more, let me just look at some interesting facts here about South Africa. So, the 2022 winners team um, has not made a smooth transition into this tournament. Um, their coach has decided, and partially also retirement from legends such as Janine van Dijk, Janine van Wyk, has made it possible for a new generation to come in, but there's a clear shift in um, that 2022 squad, keeping the core of it, but also seven players of that team will not be at this tournament. So South Africa comes into this tournament as the favorite because they're the holders of the competition as reigning champions of Africa. In Dr. Ellis, they have a coach who has seen it all, having been part of the establishment of professional football in South Africa since the 90s and eventually becoming the coach in 2016. She and the South African Federation have raised the bar time and time again. And for this year's squad, there is something interesting. Obviously, after winning the cup, you would think that some of like you would have most of the squad back, which is true, but they've elected to leave home 7 or 9 players from the 2022 squad. Most of them have aged or are having issues um, or retired. And when I say issues, I mean obviously just staying at the shape and in providing the quality needed for such tournaments. Um, but the most notable missing would be forward and captain Temi Kgatlana, who has been crucial for Banyana throughout the years, but now for personal reasons will not be traveling to Morocco. Um, I think that's a big loss, obviously, given the fact that she's a well respected player within her ranks in African football, having seen it all uh, with South Africa, but also on like her club level, having played in the WSL and scoring goals upon goals, and now in Mexico doing the same. Um, but yeah, so she will be the biggest name missing from this list of absentees. In the current setup, you have Linda Motlalo, who has now gone from a relatively quiet period in the WSL into the Scottish Premier League, where she's playing for the Glasgow City, and here she's regained her form and confidence. And those that know a little bit about the South African team, uh, they their midfield is amazing in the sense that they have a group of uh, players who are able to not only keep possession and progress the ball fairly well, but they have in a guy, Linda Magai that is, um, and Motlalo, two players who can make the difference just by sheer skill. Um, you also have players like Jane, Filiu Jane, who as well is another really, really great piece of this team. And I think it's very, very important to, to identify that Zambia really focuses on minimizing space for opponents for counters. So the way they set up is to be as disruptive as they can in the first phase of build up of opponents, regaining the ball as high as possible. We saw them use the same tactic against Zambia in a recent friendly, well, not friendly, in a recent Three Nations Cup challenge, where South Africa won comfortable 2-0 with an amazing, amazing free kick. Um, so I think what South Africa and what Banyana is going to do during this tournament is pretty much when they have the upper hand in games, they'll retain possession and go use the wings to attack fast, but then slow it down as needed. When playing teams such as Zambia, who are counter-attacking threats, um, they tend to just press higher, and allow for a lot of early disruptive build-up, disrupting opponents' build-up patterns, and then relying on their uh, dueling power in the midfield. So it's going to be a very interesting matchup, especially when they play teams that are as good on the ball like Morocco, Nigeria. Um, so those are games I'm really, really looking forward to. Um, Obviously, South Africa is in the group with Ghana, Mali, and Tanzania. I think the game between South Africa and Tanzania is definitely a one to watch, given that as strong as South Africa is, a regional derby is always something fun to look forward to. Moving on to the next favorite in this tournament, which is host nation Morocco. Morocco is such an interesting team because they've been able to, in the last 5 years, grow so rapidly, still maintaining the same core of players. And now, with the addition of a coach that has won the World Cup, I'm curious what he will be adding. Morocco's always been a team that's good with the ball, technically very, yeah, very much a team that can keep possession, that can defend in low block. Pressing high is not really their game, but giving the Spanish influence that the coach might bring in, I think we might see them press higher in this tournament, especially when they play teams that they're not afraid of in the counter. Um, I would I would love to see, yeah, how, for instance, in the opening game where Morocco is taking on Zambia, what the setup will be. What we do know about Morocco is that they have um, their wingers in Keina and Fatima Tahnoud. They have two very, very skillful wingers who at any given time can change a game. And then providing assists, not necessarily goals. Both are not really known for scoring a lot of goals, but they do score. And then you have someone in Hislan Shebek who is known for scoring goals, arriving early or late in the box, latching onto crosses. So I think that combination of having wingers who are very effective on the ball, and then a midfielder who can arrive late into the box is a big, big, big um, asset. Um, Missing from this squad are Doa El Medina, who is currently voted the best young player in Africa, and then Rosella Ayan, the former Tottenham and also Chicago's star player who has had somewhat of an unfortunate year in terms of uh, the move to Chicago did not work out, and then just got into a slump. And honestly, don't know where she is currently or what team she is signed to. But she was instrumental in the last 3 years in the Moroccan team, uh, even scoring in that final in 2022 that they lost to South Africa. So she's been a key player who unfortunately would not be here now at the WAFCON. As for Doa El Medina, she is currently out injured, which is a pity. She is one of the crown jewels of African football at the moment. Um, and it would have been amazing to have her in the squad, not necessarily starting, but someone you could bring in desperation mode, or someone you could bring in when things are going very well. You have a cushion, and give her that tournament experience because these will be the players to build on for the future of this team. Um, and then the Moroccan striker Ibtissam Jraidi um, is another prolific scorer. And then Morocco has so many options in that midfield and attacking components that we damn near forget that players like Noela Benzina, who plays center back for them, um, is there and allowing that back line is allowing this midfield and strikers to do their work. So I think the fun part about this Moroccan team is that you know that they will be playing on the front foot, looking for chances. It's an entertaining team with a lot of ability on the ball, but also has so many options and even um, yeah, players like Sana Masodi who is so good on the ball, but yet digs deep as necessary when the team needs to defend. So on and off the ball, they're a very solid team. I think the only issue they've encountered in the past is when playing teams that are also compact, but then have the ability to attack Morocco uh, in the back of defenders, because obviously when you play a possession style game and most of the time you're in possession pushing up high, there's so much space you also leave behind. And if the press or the if the press or the counter press don't work out, there's so much space to run into for opponents. So Morocco's wing backs are gonna have a lot of work to do, honestly, and but I look forward to these matchups, especially in that opening game between Zambia and Morocco. Moving on to Nigeria, who obviously are the standard when it comes to quality and excellence in African women's football, given all the history and all the glamour that team has. I believe they never go into a tournament, and definitely not the African Women's Cup, and not being a favorite, having won it, as I said previously, 9 out of the 12 times, with Equatorial Guinea winning it twice, and then obviously South Africa that won the last one. There's still one big thing though. So when Nigeria released its squad, um, Gift Monday was missing from that list. And at first, for those of you who don't know who that is, Gift Monday is a player for Washington Spirit, and she came into the American Women's League, the WNSL, and has been scoring important goals. And previously in Spain as well. She's just like a player who, even if the team is not playing well, she's not in the game, somehow, somewhere during the game, she is going to find the back of the net. Um, so opting not to select her raised a lot of eyebrows, prompting for the player um, to release a statement basically saying, I'm disappointed not to be selected, but that's just part of the game. I'm going to keep my head low and work hard. I'll be rooting for the team and I'll be their biggest fan. Just kept it professional, even though there was something on her Instagram story that was a bit funny. Initially, she had posted, I'm not injured, I'm 100% healthy and ready to go, making it just very clear to fans that it was not her being injured or unavailable for the team. It was a clear coaching decision. I'm curious if reporters are going to press the Nigerian coach about these choices. So, who's going to score the goals for Nigeria? So, obviously, if you say the Nigerian women's national team, the Super Falcons, you'll have to say Asisato Oshoala, who's just a legend of the game and legend of African football. Um, Currently playing at BFC, not having her best season. Um, yeah, I've written enough about that. So if you want to read a bit about what's happening, you can check the Substack. There's a breakdown article on her season so far, where she's basically went goalless. And I mainly attribute this to the system her current coach at BFC is playing. But with that white and green or green shirt from Nigeria, Hasisat always finds a second, third, fourth gear to just make it happen. We've seen it at the Olympics, we've seen it at the World Cup, and we've seen it at all the age levels. She's just someone who, whenever she puts on that Nigerian jersey, you know she is going to turn it up. She is going to find whatever it is, the energy, the grit, to get those goals, to get her team going. And she's been massive for this team in recent years. And I believe partially why Nigeria did not do as well in the last one was her not being there. So you have her obviously up top. You have as well Ifoma Onumonu or Ife, who after a relatively uh, unfortunate period with the Utah Royals, where she was injured for most and came back, and decided to move to France, to Montpellier. Here she's found her smile and her confidence again after a long um, period of rehab and injuries. She's been in fine form in France, scored plenty of goals, but I think what she offers is as well is that experience on an international level. Um, she's not the player that's always going to give you a lot of goals, but she is the player who is so great on the ball, playing with her back towards goal, her ability to just uh, give options on and off the ball, I think will be a great against certain teams. And then for me, the player for this Nigerian team are two players. Firstly, Ashidat Ajibade, who currently is without a club as her contract in time with Atletico de Madrid has come to an end. And there are enough rumors of her potentially moving to the WSL in England or the WNSL here in the US. Either way, she's going to find a team and she'll do amazing. She's the captain of this team, and she is just phenomenal. Has had there's just something, another player whenever she puts on that national jersey, just something changes in her demeanor, uh, and I think how she is going to be able to lead and wield this team and keep everyone together is going to be instrumental. But she's someone who could play in that 10, 9.5 position, someone who could potentially play on the wing, very versatile, is going to give you a lot of goals. Was one of the main goal scorers in the last tournament. So definitely someone who, is going to be a key player for all of Nigeria's strengths. I think what really Nigeria has ahead of most African teams is a world class goalkeeper in Chiamaka Nadozie. She just won African goalkeeper of the year as well as the best goalkeeper in the French league. And she's now moved on from Paris FC to sign for Brighton, where she will then be playing in the WNSL in England. She's she's an unbelievable short stopper, definitely up there with the best in the world. And having her as a defender behind you, it just gives you so much confidence. I think she's definitely the reason, or she will be the reason for many, many moments where Nigerians and both players and fans will be like, thank God we have her. And I think another aspect of this Nigerian team is bringing back Ashley Plumtree, who had moved to Saudi Arabia to play for Al Ittihad. Uh, she can play left or right back, doesn't really matter. Very reliable, both defensive and offensive side of the ball. And then for might be a shocker for some WNSL fans, but Michelle Alozie, who would be the right starting right back for Nigeria. I know in the WNSL she plays as a striker or winger, uh, and she does well there. But I think for this Nigerian team, one of the best decisions they made was to put her right back, especially in the modern game, and especially in games where Nigeria has so many possession. Having a skilled player on those wings, bringing that extra overlapping, underlapping options is just an amazing element to have. And she's not bad defensively. She's obviously not a defender at all in the sense of she was not trained to be a defender. But what she does give you is so much good positioning and um, on the ball when building up. It's just great to have someone who's great on the ball on those wing back positions, as we all know in the modern game, with inverting or pushing up those wing backs or right and left backs. So moving on to our last but not least favorite is the Zambian national team, aka the Copper Queens. I think Zambia for me is the most shaky favorite. Um, and Zambia is honestly a team that I really, really, really love watching. Uh, but they've broke my heart so many times. And it really has to do with their inability to secure leads and maintain lead. Going forward, Zambia is the best team in Africa. They have the best striking duo in Banda and Rachel Kundananji. And then behind them, you have midfield maestro Grace Chanda, who will be pulling the strings for them. Uh, but I think Zambia is just with a new coach who just came in January. She's still figuring things out. I'm honestly, I'm a bit worried, not because of what Zambia can do offensively, but of those of us that have played the game, it doesn't matter what level, you understand that defensive setups take so much time and effort to coach and work on routines and pressing schemes and understanding when and how to press where. These are habits that a new coach needs to coach and train. And Zambia was the last team during this WAFCON, if not one of the last teams, I think, together with Congo, to go on training camp, whilst a team like Morocco, Nigeria, Algeria, all of these other teams have been at training camp. Ghana, I've been watching videos of all these teams, honestly, just in training camp doing all this work. And I'm a bit afraid of like this. golden generation of Zambian women's football um, not getting everything they can out of this team. That being said, Zambia is an annoying team to play against because one of the most incredible things Zambia can do to other teams is get them into chaos mode. So whenever Zambia plays a low block team, hard to get through them. But for some reason, Zambia is able to provoke teams to go into this chaos type of games where there's so much space and the game is going back and forth with a lot of counter opportunities. And obviously, this is the perfect setup for Zambia. They need the space, they want the space because it allows them to release Kundananji, to release Banda, because you know Banda in a 3v1 situation, she's taking every defender on. 2v1, good luck. 1v1, bye, see you, go grab the ball out of the net. So it's all the teams playing Zambia, I believe, especially the top teams, are all going to have the same game plan, which is the one South Africa used successfully in their last game, which is press Zambia high, let the ball do the work by moving it when you're in possession, and for the love of God, don't lose the ball in any moment without pressing or fouling, because once they're gone, they're gone. I think Zambia trying, I hope the new coach doesn't come in and try to change all of that too soon, because she will need time to honestly instill the ways of playing she wants to do with this team, but still keep most of the mechanisms from the previous coach and the previous system, because this is something players know worked in the past, as Zambia won the bronze in the last WAFCON. So yeah, those are the four favorites of this WAFCON, and the first game obviously starting on this Saturday, July 5th, in Rabat, where Morocco will host Zambia, two teams that have played each other in the last 4 or 5 years, damn near every year for all the important qualifications. Um, and it's looking like the promotion from CAF has finally kicked off. We're seeing a way more content. For those in the US, your best bet to watch the game will be at Being Sports, and then fun, I believe CAF's YouTube page will broadcast some of the games. But check out the check out CAF's page to follow up on that, or follow my IG. Once I know more, I will let you know. Um, Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm hoping to get for my next episode on this amazing journey we're about to head on for the Women's African Cup of Nation, to have one or two guests, and who hopefully can shine a bit more light on some historical or current events. Um, I cannot give any spoilers yet because there are emails being sent, and I'm hoping and praying I can bring in some people. Also, shout out to Africa FC, which is an amazing platform for everything African football, especially the local leagues, both for men and a little bit for women. But they will be on the ground there now in Morocco. So I'm hoping to get founder and an incredible. Uh, yeah, I hope to get her on here for a chat, as she will be down there up there, I should say, in Morocco, because it's in northern Africa. Um, in terms of, yeah, that will be it. You can check the Substack. I might be working on a podcast format We'll see. But thank you so much for listening. And may the best team win. My reaction to what? Where are you sending it? What's mm, let's see. Oh yeah, I just got this. Um, show the screen. Yeah, there's a post on Reddit. Unfortunately, once again, forgetting that there's a an entire summer where all the continents basically are hosting their women's competition. Anyways, one of the reasons why I do this, obviously, it's because, um, and then one of the guests I'm hoping to bring in is an expert on communications and especially how players and teams can use social media. Uh, but yeah, there's just an incredible amount and lack of awareness around African women's sports to court, but especially soccer and football. And there's also like honestly, I feel like it is a very disrespected space uh, where people, as much as we've seen Jamie Carragher's comments on AFCON, I think similar or even worse sentiments exist about the African women's competition. And honestly, my first people to blame is CAF, who I believe can do so much more to leverage uh, the women's game and bring it up to a higher, not only level, but as well the space to have better communications. Because, for instance, the communications for WAFCON honestly really just kicked off 3 days ago, about 5 to 6 days before the tournament started. Before that, there was a lot of soft launch, obviously, but I think a lot of the things I've seen from the Euros, the women's Euros, has been way more at pace. And in a way, I think, for instance, think about there were entire events about the kit or the jersey release for teams, and thinking about Africa as a vibrant fashion continent. It's amazing that things like this are not organized for the Women's African Cup of Nations. It's also, anyways, these are things I'm honestly really frustrated about, and I don't really want to get into too much, as I want to focus on obviously on the players, on the game. But I have many thoughts and issues about the way people look at women's football in Africa, African players outside of Africa. Um, and the way the federations and the governing body of football in Africa is unable to brand and market and promote the women's game as a global thing. I mean, if you look at all the teams, especially teams like Algeria, Tunisia, Ghana, I mean Senegal for a little bit. These are all teams with incredible, especially and Morocco. These are all teams with amazing networks internationally, a huge diasporas that all could be leveraged, um, and 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 for some reason, this is just an untapped space. So yeah, things like this don't really, uh, surprise me. There was also another. I'm not gonna name the team, but there is a team in the WNSL also that posted one of their players going to the AFCON, but then instead of calling it what it is, used the AFCON symbol. So just indicators of you know not really respected or given the platforms as is needed. One of the issues as well, like till date, it's so unclear which channels to watch games. Obviously, locally, SBC in South Africa will broadcast the games, uh, But yeah, there's a lot of work, but there's immense talent, and I think per usual, the WAFCON is going to be amazing for those that love the game, and it will be a space for you to uh, fall in love with some of the players and their ability.